about every time, NHS, NHS, NHS. Are we actually maximizing it? Are we using it to the fullest? Are we using it the way we're supposed to use it? Are there other things there that we don't even know about that goes on? And like you know today, information is the currency, right? The level of information you have determines how much you can do, and how you use that information also matters a lot. So today, our speaker is one of our own. She's a registered nurse with a master's in adult nursing from Manchester Metropolitan University. She works with the NHS and has 3 years hands-on experience in acute and high-pressure hospital environment. Acute and high-pressure hospital environment. I don't know any environment that is as high-pressured as the hospital environment. Even as a, I don't want to say patient, even as a visitor, if you go there, you can literally feel the pulse of the nurses and the medical staffs, moving around. Demonstrating advanced clinical judgment, excellent communication skills, and a proactive approach to improving patient outcomes and supporting families through challenging health journeys. Her name is Mrs. Janet Shodunke. She's a passionate advocate for community health. She has continued to deliver informative and engaging health talks wherever she's called upon. With a passion for continuous learning, she's committed to using evidence-based knowledge and critical thinking to improve patient care and make a positive impact within the healthcare community. So today being day 2 of this seminar, can we jam our hands together as I invite our speaker? And I want to say that to make the maximum use of this time as the seminar is going on, please write down your questions. Write it down so that after she's done, she can answer the questions. Over to you, ma'am.
Praise the Lord. Is my voice loud enough? Praise the living Jesus. I know most of us are tired. I was looking on your faces and I was telling the facilitators, I think my people are tired and hungry and probably don't want to go home. So I will not take your time. I would like to start with thanking the presbytery, our daddy in the Lord, Pastor Adejuma and his darling wife, the deaconesses, elders, and every one of us here. Thank you for taking the time. So moving on this seminar for health, today we shall be dealing with the understanding healthcare services within the NHS. And a lot of us here would notice how gigantic, how enormous this NHS is. A lot of times we have situations that we think we need to discuss with someone, or how do we go about getting that service that would be particular to our care. And it's like you're being thrown from pillar to post. So in this seminar, we shall try as much as possible to break down the services. Right, so let's talk about the NHS. What is the NHS? So NHS, which is the National Health Service, is the publicly funded healthcare system in the UK. So it's a UK thing, right? And it was created by the then Labour Minister for Health in 1948. The purpose for NHS, 3 fundamental principles for the NHS, was that healthcare will be available to everybody, irrespective of who you are. It should be free, irrespective of whether you have the money to pay or not, and it is based on need. So that's why sometimes they prioritize, we're going to give priority to the cancer patient on waiting list, while yours is not urgent, you're going to wait longer. So the NHS is there for that purpose. So in the UK, which is the whole system, it's broken down into 4 countries, which we are aware of. So each of these individual countries have their own NHS system. However, they all operate on the same fundamental principles. So it doesn't matter where you are. You may be in England, Scotland, Wales, or you may be in Northern Ireland. NHS service is free. It's available, and it's based on need. Right, so these are the 4 NHS systems in the UK. So as we are in England, most of our services are going to fall under NHS England. So when you're looking for services online, because there is a lot of information online, and all this information are also in NHS, 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 you could help yourself by going down to NHS England, because that will give you a streamlined care to you. But if you were to go to Wales, then you could then use the NHS Wales sort of like support, you understand? So that's just a little breakdown, because sometimes we just go to NHS, but when we go to the NHS, then you see information that are too much. But if you put down NHS England, and if you want to go down to you can put your local trust. Like if the local trust you use Oldham, you can put Oldham, Royal Oldham NHS services, and you will see what they deliver. Right, so moving forward to the next slide, please. Right. Right, so on the next slide, what I would be having there is the type of health services in the NHS. So, in terms of breaking it down, NHS services can be broken down by the level of care, that is that's the extent to which, the extent of service each provider does, or it can be broken down to the types in terms of different little gardens. What you can get from this garden, what you can. So you're not talking of mental health. You're talking of maternity. You're going into little gardens now. But as a whole, if you want to look at it as a system, what does the NHS service? What is it broken into? We've got the primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, and community health. And what then is primary care? In the next slide, please. Primary care is your first point of contact. These are the services you see first for most health concerns. The purpose of primary care is to ensure that your whatever concern is diagnosed in time, and to prevent that concern from becoming a big situation, and so that if you require any intervention, such as hospital treatment, you then can be moved to the next level. So, what are those in primary care? We have the GPs, which are the family doctors who diagnose, treat, and refer patients. Pharmacy. Pharmacies, they don't just only sell drugs. As a matter of fact, there are some little, I won't say anything is little, but there are some concerns that we may be having, or our children, that does not need GP. Because these days, you all will agree with me that getting a GP appointment is a miracle, to say. So let's say things like common cold, skin rashes, just some minor things that are like minor ailments. If you go to the pharmacy and take that situation to them and tell them your symptoms, sometimes they have pharmacists that are able to prescribe your medication without you going to the GP. So it's not until I have called my GP and I'm having this situation. Sometimes your first point of contact can also be the pharmacy. Right. Dentist. The NHS dental care, which is partly subsidized here, that's for those of us that use the NHS service, and there are some people that have it as private. Opticians. So these are first points of contact. So they are the there are the people that you will see first before you then be like elevated to the next level. So let's try as much as possible to use these services, because sometimes what we are looking for, they may have the answers to it. Then the next slide there, I have the secondary care. So the main role of secondary care is to provide expertise and treatment for conditions beyond the scope of primary care. So now you've gone to your GP, your GP have assessed your symptoms and have seen, oh, based on your condition or based on your symptom, then they will then refer you to the hospital. And they're not just going to refer you to any part of the hospital, they're going to refer you to the hospital, the part of the department that specializes with dealing with that condition. So, for instance, now, if you go to your GP now and say, you have, as a woman, you have a woman-related issue, right? They're not just going to send you anywhere. They're going to send you to a department that's related to gynecology. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, if you have so that's the reason why when you call the GP, please be specific. And when you go for your assessment, describe your symptoms in a manner that you get the actual service that you are looking for. Because if you go round and round the circle, talking about how it began 10 years ago, I was having da. What is the issue? So that they can know how to refer you. Right, so secondary care has the hospital-based treatment, the specialist treatment, outpatient clinics, surgical services, urgent and emergency care. So, can we go to the next slide, please? So, in terms of how you access secondary care, we've already spoken about the GP referral, which is the most common method. Then there is this other method that most of us use, which is the emergency pathways. So you may be able to access secondary care through emergency department. If you go to the A&E department now with your situation, it may not be urgent, but because you've appeared and you've been seen, you will be triaged in a manner that they would take you to the next level of care that you need for your concern. So let's say you've not been able to get to the GP, or you feel like, oh, my situation is so urgent that I can't wait for 3 weeks appointment. Appear in A&E, even though A&E is specifically for accident and emergency cases. But there is also another part of A&E that deals with urgent treatment services. So there is a part that is rush, immediate, like for life-threatening situations. And there is that part where they tell you to go to and you are happy, you think, now I'm going to be seeing the doctor. Then you go and wait for another 10 hours. We all know how it works. So that's because your case is not urgent, it's not a life threat, it's not do or die, it's not now. However, it needs to be solved. So they're going to tell you to go to the urgent treatment service. And through that channel, you will still be sent to whichever department in the hospital that deals with your concern. So that's another pathway. So in an emergency for life-threatening situations, please use the A&E. 999 ambulance services is also for emergency. 111 service, sometimes when we are at home and we are not sure, we don't know if that concern, we don't know how to go about that concern, but we need advice, right? So we use the 111 service. It's a non-emergency medical service, but they can provide you with advice. If they think your concern needs to be escalated, they will tell you to go to the nearest A&E. Sometimes they will even tell you, avoid going to the reception, just go straight to the urgent treatment. And a consultant is already aware of your situation. So these are ways in which we can access this care. Out of hours GP, if they feel like, oh, your situation is something that they're going to call you back, you hear them, they will say, oh, right, is this the number we can ring you back on? Yeah, and someone will call you back within 2 to 4 or 6 hours. But definitely, there are people that are working out of hours that will call you back and, deal with your concern. So, but through this pathway, you can still access the secondary care. Can we move forward, please? So another method for accessing this secondary care service is through self-referral. So you might be able to refer yourself in some certain conditions. Now let's talk about maternity care, which is the care that is provided to women from being pregnant to giving birth to after giving birth. So up until before, I think what we did was we used to just go to our GP and from there they'll connect us with midwife. But now you don't even need to wait to that point, right? You can self-refer yourself online. Just go to the trust, your local trust, go to their maternity service, get the number, give them a ring, and they will book you. So healthcare service is getting streamlined now, right? So if you cannot access the self-referral, you cannot get their number, why not? Then you can call your GP and they will be able to give you all these details because they know they will give you the choice. Where do you want to be seen? Do you want to go to North Manchester? Do you want to go to Royal Oldham? Different trusts with different sort of services, and they will be able to triage you accordingly. Then the next slide is self-referral as well to the mental health. Can we go to the next slide, please? So in terms of mental health is the care that is provided to, next slide, sorry, to people that have conditions of, like mental conditions, and also people with learning disability. So just because it's a mental health service, it doesn't just limit our services to what we know as mental health. Even those with learning difficulties, learning disabilities can also access mental health services. So in terms of how we can access it, you can refer yourself. If it's like, there are some talk therapies, there are some like services that deal with helping you deal with anxiety disorder, depression. If it's related to those sort of like mental health conditions, we have talk therapies that you can refer yourself to. Or if you know anybody that is feeling in a certain way, like low mood, you can tell them to self-refer themselves. And you can also, if it's in an emergency, in a crisis situation, a mental health crisis situation, always you can call the 999 and tell them it's mental health. I think there is an option now where they will ask you, is it physical or mental health? And you can then say which service you want. And for confidential support, if you don't want to like go on the call, and if it's confidential, you can just shout to that number there, and someone would definitely be on the other line with you. And for helplines, you can call the Samaritans, and all these are all free and confidential, right? So we're going to move on now to tertiary care. So tertiary care is to provide specialized treatment. Not just specialized, but highly specialized. So it's much more advanced now. Without talking in the area of, you have been seen now in the secondary care or whatever condition you might be having has to do with needing a specialized equipment that you can't just find anywhere. Then it will upgrade the person to tertiary care. And examples would be like cardiac surgery, that's surgery of the heart. Neurosurgery, if it's like brain condition, cancer treatment, organ transplant, intensive care unit, including neonatal intensive care. For specialized mental health services that require secure, when that person needs to be in a secure environment. Treatment for severe burns, not just like simple burns like water poured on you. Those kind of terrible burns like being in a burning house, Can you imagine the level of expertise that will require plastic surgeries and all that will be required to fix the person? Specialist diagnostic service such as genetic services. So these are highly advanced sort of care. And how do you get this service? How can you get this sort of like service? Can we go to the next slide, please? So this service only is by referral. You can't turn up. You can't just turn up like we turn up to A&E. So you have to typically be referred from your GP or a consultant in the local hospital. So that's the way we can access tertiary care. But before you get to this point, you would have seen your GP or you would have been referred to a consultant, and then they would then upgrade, because this is like the level of care where you need highly specialized equipment and consultants that deal with that particular situation. And now we now come down to community health. Community health provides health and social support. So most times when we go to the GP, the GP will look at your physical health. If he thinks, oh, you need social input or whatever, then you would have community health input added on. It's an add-on. The social care is an add-on. But if you're able to manage your health condition, you may not be escalated to that community. So it's not everybody that gets community care. So community care the aim of community care is to help you stay in your house while you receive care. So to prevent hospital admission, sometimes you cannot help it. If someone is in the care home and have a fall, that person definitely will be escalated to secondary care hospital straight. So you see how interwoven it is, but it's all about what actual service can you get. So in terms of community care, is to help you stay at home and receive your care. You can also receive community cares in like community clinics, schools, hospice, for those that are on like palliative sort of like journey. So the goal is to offer proactive and personalized care, helping people to remain independent for as long as possible and to prevent hospital admission. So before, everything used to be directed to the hospital. You know, you have headache, hospital. You have diabetes, hospital. But now, community care now serves that purpose where if you have a long-term condition, a condition that is when you say something is long-term, that means there's every evidence that that condition is going to continue even after a year. It's not going to go away. And it needs to be managed. So you're going to be within the community care service so that they can properly manage your condition and tailor your care to fit you. Tailor your care to be personalized so that they are not just, because if you go to the hospital, what's going to happen is they're going to give you that care at that moment to treat diabetes and they'll send you home. But when you go home, does diabetes stop? No. So you still have to carry on your care at home. That is why community service is there. So you will have a community specialist nurse that would help you come once in a while. Maybe they may even ask you to come down to the clinic to do your monthly review. You know, you will have that support still in community. You're not just going to be by yourself. So it's for long-term chronic condition. So can we carry on, please? Some community care services, they include the community nursing teams, such as the district nurse, the specialist community nurses, child health service. So the health visiting, the school nursing, the community pediatric clinic, and those that deal with autism pathways, they are all under community. So most times, community services are used up by children. Most times, it is used up by the elderly. Most times, sometimes, young ones like me, you and I, maybe if we need to like have the community midwife come, from time to time, But most times you will find that it's people that use community service more are the children and the elderly, and those with long-term chronic condition. So health visitors would know them. They come to your house, they check on your child's growth. I think they usually is from birth to 5 years. You would have that kind of like support there, for health visitors to assess your child. If you have their numbers, they're like one you call after giving birth. You ask questions when you are not sure. They are there. School nursing, you have nurses in schools as well. You know, when your child have a bump in the head and they write you that accident slip and they say, oh, just to inform you, so and so happened today in school. Has been checked. Everything is okay. That's school nurse. Right. So community pediatric clinic. So if you have a concern on your child, the GP is there. The GP is there. But most times when it comes to children, the best point of care you will get for children is the pediatric consultants or the pediatric service, because they deal specifically with children, right? So, and if you have concerns about your child development, maybe you feel, oh, the way, you know, you've seen something and you question it, you have the service there that is part of the child health service, and they work in line. They work together with the school, they work together with you, and they can assess your child and see what level of care your child need, what pathway, is it autistic, is it ADHD, is it whatever it is. But it is an integrated service. It doesn't just work on its own. It's all the child health services work together as an integrated service, right? Then the community health, we have the specialist long-term conditions, as we said. We have palliative care. We need wheelchair service. If you need wheelchair services, that's part of community care. Smoking cessation clinic. If you have someone that is trying to stop smoking, there is a service for it within the community. You can speak with your GP, and then your GP can then navigate you properly to those charities that help deal with smoking cessation, and they can also provide you with information, sexual health services, sexual assault services as well. So if there's any service that has to do with your sexuality, we have services for this, indeed in community, that you can refer yourself to. Now, the list is not exhaustive because community is very broad, and it's all it's different people coming together to provide health and social care, and also involves charities as well. So it's it's a very broad list. Fine. So on this final session of this seminar, we shall be talking about digital and telehealth service, because we are all seeing a trend now where everything is going online. Before, it's like you call somebody and there is somebody on the phone to answer you. These days, you will find it's a machine. Can you press 1 if you need a service? Then press 2 for that. It's just like before you even get to talk to somebody, it's quite this. So that is the part going on now, and it's one of the NHS long-term plan that technology will be embedded into health in such a manner that you and I can be on our phone and get access to whatever we want, right? So it refers to the use of digital technology to improve operation and quality of healthcare systems, and it also is becoming more rampant now. So the idea of digital health has always been there, but it wasn't prominently used until COVID-19. After the COVID-19 pandemic, then they started thinking of ways to continue providing care to people without being seen. And that's where this digital health thing became a hot cake. So if you are looking into something to do with NHS, you might look into that area because it's a hot cake now, trust me. Right, so can we go into the range of digital telehealth services that we do? So you have the mobile health applications, like the NHS app. The person that spoke last week spoke about how you can navigate the NHS app. It's just on your phone. If you download it on your phone, it will help you book your appointment, repeat prescriptions. If you need a referral, you can. There is a form there you can fill for a referral. It's so advanced now that a time is going to come where we'll just be on our phone and we'll just be like doing everything we want regarding our health. NHS 111, as we already know. Then we have the telecare services. What are telecare? Telecare are just devices, those technologies that we use to monitor our health without going to the GP. So for instance, now if you have high blood pressure, you can have access to be able to send your blood pressure reading to your GP without going to see your GP. So if you're on a monitor pathway where you're monitoring your blood pressure, your GP from his office can just log in and just see whatever you're reading is in real time. So also if you have diabetes, your glucometer can be programmed in such a way that your result sent directly to your GP. So that is the level we are going into now. Telemonitoring. So this is how they can remotely monitor you. When they discharge you from the ward and they say, oh, we're going to be discharging you home now, but we're going to be monitoring you via the telemonitoring method. What do they mean? It means that you'll be dedicated a consultant that is able to follow up your care without even seeing you, right? As you have all these telecare equipment that is sending your results in real time. When it's time for this, when it's time for that, when it's, they are knowing what you're doing. If there is any need for concern, immediate urgent concern, then they're there. You understand? So teleconsultation, before you have to see the GP, you have to see the doctor direct so you can tell them your concern. But these days, they are offering telephone and they are offering video consultation. So if they tell you, oh, there is no GP appointment, you can opt in to say, oh, but I don't mind a phone conversation or a video conversation because that appointment might be quicker than the one that they are booking you for 4 weeks' time. So you can always say, oh, if you do, I wouldn't mind to go for the teleconsultation option. And that may be like 2 days. You never can tell, but it's always there for you to use. Most GP surgeries, hospital, mental health services, and community services, they are now offering teleconsultations. So how do we use the NHS? The NHS is very broad, as we say. It can be very, very, it can be too much sometimes. But if you visit the NHS UK for information, always use the service locator that would help you navigate, that will streamline you to where you are, England. And you can even go further, as I said, by using the local trust around you. And you get all the information you need and whatever services you need. Thank you.
Can we give a round of applause one more time? You don't know how to give round of applause. Round like this. You round it in our clap. Thank you very much, Ma. God bless you in Jesus' name. Do we have questions? Do we have people with questions in the house? Questions. Okay. Let me have one question. I'll start. You mentioned that if there are minor instances of, not minor, but you feel like it's minor, and maybe trying to book upon a GP is a long thing, you can walk into a pharmacy. So the question is, pharmacy, are they free to access? When they give you the prescription, is it also free? Because if I go to Boots now, I say X, I have to pay.
Hello. In terms of prescription, as I said, NHS is free, right? But prescription is not. It's only free in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. But in England, prescriptions are not free unless you are exempt. And those that fall under the exempt categories are children. Most children in England, they don't need to pay. If you have a written prescription, it's free for children. Adults over the age of 60, prescription is free. Those that are on a low income or those on benefit, prescription is free. So you say, so in England, it's not totally free if you are not in the exempt category. And maybe those maternity, and if you've given birth within 12 months, your prescriptions are free. Apart from that, all of you all of us, like, we sort of have to pay. So if you go into the pharmacy and you get a medication, you will have to pay for it. The only time you will not pay for it is if you are under the exempt group. So even if you are under the exempt group and you are getting the medication from pharmacy and it's written by pharmacist as a prescription, you wouldn't pay. But if it's on a buy as you need basis, like, oh, I need this medication, now can I get it? And they take it and they give it to you, then you are paying for it. But what they call prescription, it has to be like written and signed by a medical personnel, okay? But if it's not, you have to pay, and you have to be within the exempt group not to pay. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sorry, I want to ask a question. Formerly, I changed my address,
Yeah.
and then my former address, I have a GP appointment there
Yeah.
for a certain date.
Yeah.
And when I changed my address, I changed to a new GP.
Yeah.
So how would I be able to tell the new GP, okay, I have an appointment so date? Or is it that the new GP will give me a new appointment?
All right. So in terms of changing your address, what you've changed is where you live. Your appointment that you have previously will still be available for that day. So let's say you have an appointment for next week. Is that what you're saying? Or this week now you have moved to a new address. You still on the system. You're still going to be on the system as to have this appointment. You've been booked. Because you've been booked, unless you cancel and say, I'm not going to be available or if they write to you to say due to unforeseen reasons that, sorry, your appointment has been cancelled. Unless it's been cancelled, that appointment still stands. Now, your new GP it takes time for information to be transmitted. So when you change your GP, you don't immediately get all your patient record transferred onto the new GP. It takes time. So it might be that when you go for your first consultation as a new patient, because they will book you in for your first consultation, you then tell them, oh, I'm on this list for this, I have this appointment booked, and Then they'll carry on your care from then forward, but whatever has been booked previously still remains. And you can still go because it's been booked unless there is any reason for cancellation.
Sorry, just to clarify, it means that the person needs to go to the trust where the appointment was made, and not the new location.
Yes, as I said, if for instance now we have different trusts for different localities.
Yes.
Like if you're in Rochdale, and if you used to live in Oldham, for instance, and they've booked you now for the one down the road, because because they also have to consider your traveling times, how convenient it is, and then what specialty. If that specialty, they only do it in Oldham. Like now, I'll give you an example, like neurosurgery. Neurosurgery, if there is a neuro case or a trauma case, which most times is being directed to Salford Hospital. And if your case is such that you need that the specialist expertise, that which they know Salford is it's the hallmark for neurosurgery in North West England, sorry. And you now move down to say somewhere else that is not in Northwest. Your appointment will still stand, and you are still expected to travel down to Salford for that. Unless by yourself you say it's too far, I don't want to travel that far, then you cancel. Or you speak with your GP, then they'll put you down for a new referral to the one close to your house if they provide that service. But if they say in the whole of Northwest, they have the equipment that they need for that surgery of yours, they will still advise you to try and make it. So they look at different things. It's not just because you've moved. They also look at how specialized the service you need is. So it will still remain, and you still need to go to that trust as previously booked. And you don't want to start the whole process again, because before then they get you on a new list that's within your proximity. That may take time.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Any other questions? Let's give our facilitator another round of applause. Thank you very much. We finished on time. So, want to appreciate our facilitator again for taking time out to put the slide and taking time to speak to us. This continues again next week. We'll make sure that we stay within time. Come with your questions, come with your concerns, and come with your questions and concerns, and we believe that all the questions and concerns will be answered. There is still item 7 available. Am I permitted to say it on camera? One la malawa. So if you want to eat amala, anything you want, just order. You will get it. So that will be the end of today's seminar. Thank you very much, and God bless you.